Welcome to the Salt Stands Alone podcast, a podcast where I, Hank, that's me, Hank, I'm going to talk about media consumption that I've been up to lately, some things that I have consumed. And today I'm going to talk about comic books. I got some comic book stuff I want to talk about. Because there's been some stuff on my mind lately about mostly it's starting with like the idea of characters from comics that I really like. They just aren't in comics anymore. Like the pain of liking newfangled, specifically usually teenage superheroes that are not the big ones. And so they kind of have their time in the spotlight and then they just don't anymore or whatever. Like just like they're just not in stories anymore. Either the writers that favored them are done with them or writing different stuff or whatever. And it kind of starts with my main obsession like on this topic is Hope Summers. And I will say also although I will say a big thing that makes me go back to this is thinking about is Marvel Rivals and Marvel Tokon, and I started thinking about characters I want and I would like to see in those games, and then think about like the obscure pulls, and then look into, has this character been in anything new lately? And then the answer is fucking no. Or yes, but not in the way that I want. In some cases, or not a ton. And it starts with Hope Summers, who comes from early 2000s X-Men, I want to say. When was Messiah Complex? 2007, 2008. Which is the kind of post House of M era X-Men, where there was a story thing that happened in a comic book that I actually don't think is good, which is House of M. I just don't think it's that well written. Bendis did not have, early in Bendis's X-Men stuff, or Avengers stuff particularly, he did not have a feel for certain characters at all, in my opinion. He went on to write X-Men, or to write Avengers for longer than any other person has written Avengers. So I actually think by the end of it, he kind of got there. But early on, and House of M is still pretty early, he wrote some Avengers stories that I do not like. House of M is one of them. But the event at the end of House of M, where the Scarlet Witch says, "No more mutants," and most of the mutants in the Marvel Universe are depowered, leaving about 200. I actually think was a great thing. It was a fertile ground for stories to then be told. To tell, so this thing has happened, now we're going to tell stories about that. And a lot of the kinds of superhero stories that I like kind of exist in this space where there's a hook. You're grounded in something. Now it actually took a while for X-Men to get there. Because House of M happens in like 2005. So it's like 2 years before they really start dealing with it. And Civil War happens in the middle of there, and that also is like a total wet fart as far as I'm concerned as a story. And particularly for the X-Men, like the X-Men just like sit on the sidelines and don't get involved in a story that's like fucking crying out for the X-Men to say, yo, fuck this. Like, it's wild to me, the X-Men, that they were like, I don't know. I don't know what was up with Marvel editorial at that time. Like, yeah, we're gonna register, like, it's literally the Mutant Registration Act, but for anyone with superheroes, and the X-Men are like, nah, we're gonna sit on the sidelines for that one. And there's some, like, I think there's like some X-Men in space stories in there too, which is another thing I'm gonna get into, and just in terms of, it's just not my favorite X-Men stories. The X-Men in space stuff, just like it's fine, but it doesn't have the juice. I just feel like you're leaving so much on the table with the premise of X-Men and why it's interesting. But the era that then Messiah Complex kind of introduces, in the terms of like the X-Men now are like is a has a focus, has like a thing, that a through line that matters. And it starts with there being now a new mutant is born for the first time since House of M. And so everybody wants to find this baby. It's like the starting gun. But there are stories that lead into it. Namely, new X-Men under Kyle Craig and Chris Yost. And that book sets the tone that then gets kind of picked up by the rest of the X books eventually. Because the thing with New X-Men, which Kyle Yost and Craig Kyle basically take over the book right after House of M. And it's their take on the book is incredibly grim. It's so dark. Like, it starts with you've got like a teen who's like couldn't feel pain and now is punching a wall, making his hands bleed. He's like, I can feel. And there's a scene where they put all the kids who now are no longer mutants, and they put them on a bus, and then the bus gets blown up. Like the X-Men are besieged by people who fear and hate them. Which is kind of core X-Men to me. X-Men is a title that I think works well in darker stories, because the world being hostile to them is core to what makes the premise interesting to me. But that first New X-Men title is like, I don't know, it's like 23 or something. Now I have to look it up. New Kyle Yost, which is Childhood's End. It's issue 20 of New X-Men. So a thing I'd never done before was read the issues of New X-Men that sort of led into that, which sort of introduce a lot of the characters that are in it. Now, the reason I never did that before is it's different writers, so it's specifically not the tone I'm looking for. And also, issue 20 is when X-23, Laura, Wolverine's clone, daughter, sister, a character gets introduced to the book when she gets added. And X-23 is one of them again. It's like, I love X-23. She's great. Um, later just becomes Wolverine. Another character who's apparently just not in stuff currently. But I wanted to get to know a bunch of like the Hellions and where those characters came from beforehand. So I read through those 19 issues of New X-Men that I hadn't read. My other thought is I do have in the back of my head for Salt Labyrinth making Ben read through all these X-Men comics that I love and am obsessed with. So I wanted to see, is it worth starting at issue 1 of New X-Men to learn who these characters are? And I'm kind of still saying no. Like it didn't really change my mind, but just because like the way these stories go, like knowing who these characters, they matter, but they don't matter. Like, if you get really invested in any one of these characters, you're really not going to be satisfied. Like, even the ones that stick around the longest, like Elixir, I still don't think it's like you can't be rereading it just because you like the characters. Like, that's not enough of a draw. I like the characters and they're good, but it's not. It's like the book is part of the bigger world, so that's interesting. And like they a lot of them fade into the background. They are part of this thing of, if these are the characters you cared about, they only matter for so long. A lot of them. I kind of even think one of the best stories about New X-Men is the last one, when Magic gets reintroduced. And that story is about a bunch of even lower tier characters who then become more important because they go through this story, like Pixie. So there's that stuff too. But then Kyle and Yost go on to write X-Force, which matters, and X-23 is a big part of that, and Elixir is a pretty big part of that too. So there are through lines, but it's not everybody. Everybody doesn't really come along. Just always the thing with X-Men. You've got so many characters. Some of them just like some characters just like stop being and stuff. And they never get an ending either. It's not like they get killed. I don't think. It's just like they're just not in stories anymore. They weren't popular enough. Writers weren't interested in writing them. Whatever. Editorial wasn't interested in pushing them anymore. Whatever happened. For whatever reason. But Hope stands out because she was a character that then, starts as a baby, and then in the pages of Cable, this whole thing of her growing up in the future, and she was like the focus. She was like the main character, like the most important character, who's like thrown in a way that made readers in general fucking hate her, and think she was like the Mary Sue, because suddenly she was the mutant messiah. She was like the most important person in the world, and people were like, yeah, fuck her. But I'm like, I read Cable, and the story of her growing up I really like. So I just like the character. Like, what I like about her is, like, there's an issue of, I forget what it even is. It's some tie-in, I think, to Avengers vs. X-Men, where she's like sneaking out of Utopia with a jetpack to just go fight crime because she can't fucking sit still. And I'm just like, hell yeah. What a great character. And also she's like, she has her powers are similar to Rogue's except without needing to touch someone, where she just copies someone else's powers. She also has weird like manipulating powers that are they don't become clear at first. Um but whatever. And she basically, so she was like the main character for a while, and then they stopped after Avengers versus X-Men, which was like, the big sort of end of her arc, where this big thing of she's gonna become the Phoenix is like the big fear, and throughout the course of that, other stuff happens. But at the end, she becomes the Phoenix, and then gives up the powers. Like, no, she goes through the arc of being strong enough to not be corrupted by the power and to let it go. And then she just isn't in stuff because she doesn't matter anymore. But and then in Hoxpox, Heroes of X, Powers of X, which we read for the podcast, she's one of the, her and Elixir are like two of the, the five that matter, or that like allow for mutant resurrection in that story, where characters who died, any mutant who dies gets resurrected back in Krakoa. But like the story isn't about her, so she's like in some comics, but not in a way that I ever find satisfying, because she's not really, there aren't stories about her. And then Kieran, I was hopeful because eventually the last part of the Krakoa era, Kieran Gillen takes over the book, and Kieran Gillen on Uncanny X-Men, Kieran Gillen was one of the best writers for Hope. He wrote a lot of the stories with her. He wrote X-Men that she was on for a long time. I don't remember if he wrote who wrote Generation Hope Marvel. Yeah, he did write the first arc on Generation Hope too. And like a lot of the best Hope stories he wrote. Like the one where she's fighting in Avengers vs. X-Men, the side story, the side comic that's her and Scarlet Witch's fight, where she headbutts Scarlet Witch in the face and says, "No more nose." Which fucking rules. But in Krakoa era, Jean Grey is back walking around. Like, one of the things that made Hope so important is Jean Grey wasn't around. So like she was the Phoenix character, and she has the red hair. But in Krakoa era, Jean Grey is just around as Phoenix, so it's a whole other thing. And the whole end of that story, which is one of the things I read leading into this, is sort of squaring the thing of like where Hope came from and her actual her connection to the Phoenix, and like tying off that loose end. Where like Hope dies in like a gunfight with the Phoenix, and then like rejoins the Phoenix, and it turns out Jean Grey is Hope's, like, birthed Hope into Hope's mother. Like she's immaculately conceived by the Phoenix into this woman. But like effectively that Hope dies. She gets like reabsorbed into the Phoenix Force as part of Jean again, which is basically just the death of that character, but not in like a way that is like he's not satisfying on a character perspective as an end for that character. So I didn't really love that story. It was like solving a puzzle box, but it was not narratively satisfying, a narratively satisfying end for a character that I liked. And it was done by like the character's biggest asset as like on the writer side, but she wasn't a popular enough character to matter, so she just became a tool in the writer's toolbox kind of thing. Um, so that led me to then reading the 2024 Phoenix series about Jean Grey. It's like, can I get anything out of this? Where Jean Grey is like the all powerful Phoenix hanging out in space, and it's fine. It's not like a terrible. It's not like I enjoyed it fine, but it doesn't have the sauce or whatever. Jean Grey hanging out in space, doing space stuff. It's like, oh, it's more important out here. Why? She calls home to Scott. It's like, that's cute, but the art is occasionally charming. Usually when it's more silly and makes Jean a little more expressive. Like the thing of like Eugene being like a god being force is like not that interesting. And then when she's just like, forming a superhero team, it's like, well, why is this fucking different than being on Earth? I don't. Other than you happen to be in space. It doesn't feel more important. Anyway. And like the minute the last issue, the most recent issue that was on Marvel Unlimited at the time, like is like the start of the next thing, and I think the art was different. It was like way less good. I was like immediately, ugh, well, I don't care anymore. Like the art being pretty good is like the thing carrying me through, or whatever. And they do a thing of like Jean transforming and getting like a more cosmic-y look, but it's like sort of Dark Phoenix-y or whatever, and it's just like less compelling. The thing about Phoenix costumes is her original design, the original John Byrne Phoenix design is fucking perfect with the little fucking sash. So all the new designs are just fucking worse. I'm just like, you're just fucking, every detail you add to this is just makes it worse. It's one of those. It's one of those costumes where the original is just fucking perfect, so stop fucking with it. Your extra details are just fucking in the way. Yeah, so I read that. Uh, and yeah, I've had stuff on mind. And then I was like, I should just read some good comics, you know? Well, I guess first I was poking around in the Marvel Unlimited app, and they just added a bunch of the new Godzilla versus Marvel comics, so I went through those because it got Godzilla in them, and give me and I love that old Marvel Godzilla story, and these new comics are like, some of them are connected to each other, but most of them are not, in a way that they're not they don't feel like real stories. Most of them is the problem. Like there's cool pages in them. And they a lot of, like the trend is always like, find the way to make Godzilla like half of the superhero powers. Like in the Hulk story, you get Hulk Godzilla. Like Hulk brings Godzilla back with Hulk blood, and then you have Hulk Godzilla, or you get God Butcher Godzilla in the Thor comic, because it gets like resurrected with a piece of the God Butcher's weapon. And like, that's neat, but I just want a story. Like the worst one to me is the Spider-Man one, which, has Godzilla becoming Venom. So I'm like theoretically all about it. But they make his symbol on his chest like the Godzilla logo, which is fucking ridiculous. It just looks really stupid. Um, and that comic is like bizarrely flippant. Like it takes place in the era in the past when Spider-Man had the black costume. That's how the it bonds with Godzilla. Like it hasn't like Venom hasn't been a thing yet. And there's just like a part where he like picks up Mary Jane and she's just like it's like, yeah, I knew you were Peter the whole time. And then like her and Black Cat are like hear him make a stupid Peter Spider-Man make a stupid joke and they're just like, you take him. No, you'd have to pay me. It's like this is not like a real story. This is weird wankery. I don't know. It's like too silly. Which is stupid to say about a Spider-Man and Godzilla comic, but you know, I prefer stories that like follow their own rules and adhere to their own sense of storytelling. That's just me. I find it hits better. Stuff hits better when you do that. And then they make the symbiote bonds with Eddie Brock at the end, and he's God Venom. I don't remember how they make that portmanteau work. But it's stupid. And like the costume just looks worse. Like he just looks worse than normal Venom because it's like got too much white and he's just got like he's like a fucking WoW boss. He's just got spikes all over him. Yeah, God Venom. Okay, it's just literally God Venom. And it's just like not, I don't know. It's just worse. It's just not as good as Venom's design is perfect. It is way too much white. There's way too much white in this look. And the spikes are stupid. I'm nitpicky. It's so weird to me. There's so much Venom is it's this thing of like, you know, the stuff that isn't getting made anymore, that's like has more power to it. Whereas Venom, there have been so many Venom comics. It's all I get more nitpicky about it because it's not it again it they made him about space. They made Null is all space shit. I'm like the Venom symbiote bonds with Godzilla, and the next page is like, and so Godzilla feels the connection to Null. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. This is not the thing. And it like unbonds with Godzilla immediately. And Godzilla blasts it, which is fine, you know. But so the comic that I like the most, although there is one page in the Thor Godzilla crossover, I was looking up which ones people said were the best, and someone said the Thor one, which isn't on Marvel Unlimited yet, so I went and found it. And there's one page where it's like this cult has like murdered a bunch of people over a grate, so their blood is like raining down in this chamber where they have Godzilla's heart so they can resurrect him. And they call him the King of Killers, and it's fucking sick. That page rules. That's just a great page. But then when they make him like Godzilla God Butcher, he's just like got more spikes on his back. I'm like, meh, this is not as cool. But a King of Killers, a death cult resurrecting Godzilla with human blood sacrifice, and that shit's fucking fire. Honestly. So this is all to say, my favorite one of the Godzilla crossover things that I've read is the one that's the most of a series. It's like a 4-issue miniseries that I think only 2 issues are even out as of now. Only one of them's on Marvel Unlimited. Um, it just Godzilla destroys the Marvel universe, and the first issue of that was just great. Like it was just that was a good Marvel Universe versus Godzilla comic where like the Celestial emerges from Earth like way early, and then Godzilla shows up and fucking rips its heart out, and then everybody's like, "Oh shit, we have to stop Godzilla now." Um, I forget who. Someone fucking makes him mad. He was like walking away, and then the one it's like takes a shot at him, and they're like, "Why would you do that?" And then Godzilla murders everyone. But the second issue is like in the future, as like where like the a lot of the Avengers in Fantastic Four were killed off in the or I don't think they were killed. They were like transported to the negative zone. They were trying to send Godzilla to the negative zone, but he stopped them, and it like backfired on them. So I assume they'll be back in some later issue, but it's like years later, and that's less hype, honestly. But that first issue was quite good. I do like. There's a thing I don't even remember what issue's in, but of like all like supervillains, like the bar with no name where supervillains hang out gets like destroyed, and they're like, "Fucking, we're gonna avenge the bar with no name to go fight Godzilla," which is fun. And it's fun just like reading comics where everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Godzilla. We know who Godzilla is. Been in Marvel Comics before." I forget the name because in continuity, because Godzilla happened in Marvel Comics, technically they did the thing that like Magic the Gathering does, where it's not in comics where they don't have the Godzilla license. That stuff still happened. And that character exists, but it's just it's like the the Godzilla names filed off, serial numbers filed off, and it's a knockoff of Godzilla. I forget its name. Quick Googled and it did not help me. Trivia, maybe? Here we go. Why does this say? Why does it just say Godzilla? God damn it. Alias. No? Killing me. Marvel Zilla off-brand name. This is great podcast material. It's driving me nuts because fucking. I know that character exists and had a name. But I can't fucking find it. You can find it. Well, I guess I can actually look up this comic. What is this? Iron Man number 193 is a comic with that character. Okay. All right. Click. Click, click, click. Okay, there, I see it. I'm looking at it. They're gonna name it? No, they're not gonna name it. God damn it. Driving me crazy. Because they put like more fins on it. No, everywhere just says Godzilla. God damn it. Real name. Why do you not have its other name? The fuck? Leviathan? No. No? Okay, maybe Leviathan is the name of the thing. Anyway. It's off-brand Godzilla. But now they made some comics with Godzilla because Godzilla will be in fucking anything. Like I think Godzilla's also in some DC stuff or something. And I also read Godzilla Masterpiece Theater where it's like, what if Godzilla was in The Great Gatsby? Which I don't think was great either. If I'm being real. But then, speaking of comics with characters, then I'm like, this character, I want this character in Marvel Rivals or Tokon or whatever. Which includes Godzilla in a if Tokon had Godzilla in a trench coat, I would love it. That's like one of the guest characters I'd want. But I finally read a pair of two miniseries that I knew were great, but I had just not gotten around to reading, which is Al Ewing and Javier Rodriguez's Defenders series. Defenders from 2021 and Defenders Beyond from 2022. And these are comic books for comic book fans. And I fucking love them. I knew I would like them. Again, I've been like, they're one of those things I've been sitting on for years. Um, and like the standout character that I knew from them, that's like only in these comics mostly, is Taya, who is got Galactus's mom from the sixth universe, which is the previous universe to the Marvel universe until the seventh universe. And then I think post Secret Wars 2015, where technically the Marvel universe is now the eighth universe. I think is the way it goes. And one of the in the Defenders, one of the things is like they go through a bunch of the earlier universe. Like each in the first series, each issue they're like jumping back another earlier universe right before it's ending. And there's some, I didn't notice this in Defenders, but in Defenders Beyond for sure, they have like a thing at the back that's like, here's some comics that we're referencing for you to find some of this stuff. And I think that's fucking brilliant. Not enough if comics do that, and this comic is making such specific pulls that it's really good. Like when it's like busting out the white hot room and busting out this construction worker there that was in this one comic that Chris Claremont, this one issue of classic X-Men, which was really a reprint book that then had like backup stories that were new material that Chris Claremont like wanted to add on to stuff because of retcons in some cases. Like specifically the White House room stuff is because of Phoenix retcons about it being the Phoenix Force and not just the things Jean did. Went crazy and did. And that stuff. So like getting to read a comic and then recognizing these deep pulls and then having it referenced in on a page in the comic that's like, check out these specific issues because that's where this stuff is from. That is thumbs up. That is a great thing to me as someone who likes reading comic books that way, of like reading a story I really like and then going backwards and seeing where the stuff in it was originally from, like what the pull is. I think that stuff's compelling, and it's a way I like enjoying comic books. I would prefer they have the deep cuts and then like tell you like, hey, which is like in classic Marvel faction was, you know, the editorial note of like star back in issue, blah blah blah. But that worked better when it was comic books just had their numbers and just ran forward. They didn't have to say like this issue from 20 years ago or whatever that's like classic X-Men or X-Men volumes 3 or whatever you happen to do. I don't know. They had pictures of the covers in their list of reference material stuff. I just like it. And the big reason these Defenders books are so good is just the art is fucking incredible. Javier Dominguez is fucking crushing it. And that's a big thing with. That's another thing I was thinking about with Marvel Comics. Like, I love a hook to like get me in, but that's a thing I need because like I only need the narrative in the hook when like I need it because I'm hanging my hat on the writing because the art is like not exceptional. It doesn't speak to me directly. Like which is just sometimes that's true, you know. Comic books come out every month. Sometimes the art isn't great. Sometimes the art will change. If you're reading an ongoing in particular, sometimes the main artist needs a month off or whatever, so someone else has to take over. So you have to be invested in care about the stuff to keep reading. But sometimes the art is just good, and sometimes you can love the art. Defenders is a book where like I like the stories compelling and pulls me through, but really the art is fucking impeccable. It's so good. Um, and like it's not again like it's I like the character writing in it, but the characters aren't the thing. Like Taya is the only character that carries over from Defenders into Defenders Beyond. Like mostly it's a new group of characters. Although one of them is Miss America Chavez, who's another one of those characters that I love that's just not in enough stuff. Um and then I read the Venom Day It's Jeff one shot because it has Gwenpool in it and Kate Bishop. Because it's just drawn by what's their name? Gumihiro. Venom Day. Venom War, excuse me, from 2024. Venom War is Jeff from 2024. Written by Kelly Thompson with art by Gurihiru. And the thing, and it's just one of those things where I've always loved Gurihiru's art in Marvel Comics. He goes back to like Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, I think. And with the it's Jeff stuff, it just reminds me of Little Gotham. In that, like, these are comic books that are a little more pointing for kids or whatever, but because the character pulls are just like what this artist wants to draw, like they speak way more to me. Because one of the things with Little Gotham was like it was pulling from an older era of DC Batman stuff than what was current when it was coming out. And I like just missed that era. So like it's not like, again, there's no fucking deep character stories there, but just like seeing this character that I like here in on this page is like, oh, my heart leaps, whatever. Like, because Gwenpool's just not fucking in stuff. It's just like seeing her just there having an adventure, and it's not a story about how she's not like Gwenpool Strikes Back is like a frustrating comic because it's like a comic book about, oh, this character isn't themselves or whatever. But you know that was all. It was all laid out perfectly in the finale of Gwenpool, of like how a character sort of when their run is over with that writer, they kind of cease to be anyway. It's one of those things where like a lot of Marvel comic character stuff, like particularly minor characters, it's like they're not. One of the ways I think about it is like they're not exactly real until some other writer picks them up. Like if a character exists and it's just because they're the hobby horse of one writer, they're not like exactly real in the Marvel universe, I feel like. Which is a shame. Because Taya falls under that. Like, I don't think anybody but Al Ewing has written Taya. Which is a shame, because she's great. She's a science sneer. Where they don't have... Because they don't have superheroes in the sixth dimension. They have science here. It's all science. It's all Jack Kirby science-esque stuff. And their Galactus is like a being of magic. Is like a Cthulhu Galactus, because he comes from the previous universe to that was all magic. So where magic was formed. There was like a Cthulhu wizard guy who then became their Galactus. Good. It's just good shit. It's like pure comic nerdery. And like I just like it. It's the stuff I like. It's what I'm here for. And Ty is just always like shouting stuff and talking like she's in a Jack Kirby comic. She's like saying like the shit that would be on the cover of a comic book. Like a lot of what she's saying is in quotes. It's just good. It's just good. I don't know. That's what I've been thinking about. Comic book stuff. I want to keep on, reading stuff. Cause really, it's like the last, 20, 2000, like mid 2000, early 2000s to, or I don't know, mid 2000s to 2016. I was fucking reading everything, and then like 2016 forward, the last 10 years now. It's basically 10 years. I've read a couple things, but it's mostly void. So filling in gaps is worthwhile to me, but really there are not enough stories with the characters I want to read about. So it's poking around and finding stuff that is compelling enough to read. So I'll check in